Happy Thursday. I had to remember what day it was. Happy Thursday, nonprofits family. We are joined by a wonderful guest, as we see here today, Alexandria Jordan. I've been working with Alexandra for probably about like 2 to 3 years now.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
weird.
which is awesome. Have saw her nonprofit grow and expand. Alexandra, tell us a little bit about yourself and your nonprofit.
So I have been working with you for about 2, 3 years. So I started from absolutely nothing. I had an idea, and you helped mold it into an actual organization. Village Initiative is basically supposed to be a blueprint for the rest of a community that could be needing certain resources that are more than just monetary. There's a mindfulness and health kit going on with even the Black community now, and everyone's just more aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm realizing teaching and with the last year teaching with Austin ISD, it's not so much that kids don't necessarily want to do the said right thing, it's that
Mm-hmm.
they don't have a physical, tangible example to model themselves off of. It's a lot easier to just say, oh, you should be doing X, Y, Z, and everyone kind of understands what they should be doing. But how
Mm-hmm.
do you do that without the proper examples and the proper tools in that? And when it comes to things like behavioral issues, that's not a tangible thing. You can't just go and get a book on it. I mean, it helps, but you need to see it modeled. You need to see that this is actually something that works and can work for you. So, Village Initiative is basically going to be using um, buildings in areas that are less desirable or don't have great school systems, that type of thing, and utilizing those buildings that may be left that make it look undesirable, that might just all in all not do anything that's going to help the area. So what we're going to do is basically go in those areas, take a building like that, turn it into a physical example. We're going to have it to where there's physical ability for you to see that mindfulness is not something that's weird. Like you see people humming in a corner. It's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
When you see it in real life and you talk to the people and you realize this is a nice way to regulate yourself. You can see it go outside. We're going to have it to where it's a mindfulness and health based, like home, basically a home away from home, from those who may not even have a home, or a home where
Mm-hmm.
they can base, not base, but model themselves after. You can see and have mentors and people who are there in the building who you can talk to and ask about their walks of life and how they got to their particular goals. It's to help diversify people's understanding so that they can make better choices. There's a health side to it, there's a mindfulness side to it, and there's also an educational side to it. What we're doing right now is a little bit different because of COVID, but that's a rundown of what Village Initiative is right now.
So, because of COVID, how has it affected it? Are you leaning more towards Zoom style sessions and things like that as far as education and mentorship is concerned, or how has it COVID-19 affected the nonprofit?
So the entire thing, like I said, is physical, and that's supposed to be the whole point. But COVID had other plans, so we're having to do a Zoom based, like you're saying, online approach because that's about as close as we can get. Outside,
Mhm.
even like public school systems are being very um, just worried about having too many kids, and some people aren't having their kids in school at all. They're taking the online option, which makes sense. So that's what Village Initiative is having to do right now.
Mhm.
Right now, I'm focusing on making an online course towards self-esteem, especially for um, women of color.
Mhm.
Teaching in ISD has made me realize that seeing someone like yourself as an example, like I was saying, helps you realize it's not some far off, unattainable goal. It can be right there in front of your face, and someone who's willing to be there for you along the way in ways that one of my mentors would say, "You don't know what you don't know." Help you see the
Mhm.
blind spots to where you can fill it in. No matter how many books you read, you're never gonna be able to see the little habits that you have because you're just doing them and you're doing fine as far as you're concerned. So
Mhm.
having the online courses, the self-confidence course is called Goddess Principles for young women, and it's just teaching you about the history of beauty and women in America as well as outside of America, where we are concerned as far as women of color, so that you can get a more rounded perspective and center yourself in yourself so you're not so worried about what's going on around you, so that you are able to focus on your own goals and your own ideology. It's not so much about what's going around you. And I feel like we tend to get kids get distracted all the time, but so do we. I get distracted. So
Hmm.
giving a little leg up on that so they can get on their goals and focus.
I love that. I love that. There's a saying that one of my mentors says that when you show up authentically for yourself, you give others the permission to do the same. And
Mm,
so when you're showing up as your authentic self, it's natural, it's magnetic, it's an easy way to educate when you're just doing it. You know what I mean? And when I like to say that's the real work. Because a
mhm,
lot of times it's really easy for us to say, hey, oh, I have a way that I can adjust you over here or adjust
mhm.
you over here, or if only you, but it's really hard sometimes to look and see how can you really develop yourself and how you can
Right.
show up as your most authentic, most elevated self. And when you do that, it's just a natural attraction around you that other people are able to see it and are able to say, oh, okay, well, she's able to do it, I'm able to do it. And that's always my goal, is just for someone to see something and be like, you know what, she's from where I'm from the hood. So she's from where I'm from, she started where I started. She was, she doesn't have like the best background or didn't go to business school or anything like
Mhm,
that, but she was able to obtain this nonprofit, obtain this business, become a coach. And when people see that, a lot of times that's the quickest way to educate. I really
mhm,
feel like coaching and mentorship is
mhm,
almost like a heightened, expounded
mhm,
education times 10,
mhm.
because it's so easy to mimic. You see it in children. Like you
Yep.
said, one of the main areas of your nonprofit is youth. Guys, if you have a youth nonprofit or a coaching or mentorship nonprofit, say that's me below here, because we're actually going to be putting together a lot of stuff for mentorship. I really feel like that's a heavy area that can cause change right now. When people say, hey, someone was talking, they did like a TED talk on nonprofits and
Mhm,
how nonprofits need to change. That was what the
mhm,
TED talk was about. And I'm not going to quote this perfectly, but the whole foundation of the conversation was that a lot of times we give for ourselves. A lot of times we say, oh, I'm going to go, let me go send these clothes over here, or send these shoes over here, and it gives us a good feeling like, okay, we did it, and that's
mhm,
needed sometimes. However, if you really want to give and you really want to cause a major impact, teach to fish as opposed to giving the fish. Find someone that you can mentor, find someone that you can
mhm,
show some of the most challenging or most rewarding, or some of the areas you've really learned the most from or have really impacted your life the most. Show them how to get and attain some of those areas, and that's a real deep area that you can give back in as well. So I love that concept. I even love the name, the Village Initiative. I know we talked about this when you first started. I was like, oh
mhm.
my goodness, I've always had this vision that I was going to be tied to some type of program with the name Village in it, because it's so
Mhm.
important. Like you said, it does take a village.
Yeah.
We're realizing that more and more during COVID-19,
Yeah.
because
Of course.
we are doing virtual learning. We
Mhm.
ourselves have a 5-year-old who's doing his first year of kindergarten
Oh,
virtually.
yeah.
And and it's definitely had its challenges, but I've learned that, like you said, it really takes a village. Sometimes it's not about trying to take everything on yourself, but hopefully having people around you who can support you as well. And sometimes that's better for the children as well, because they're able to see. I had a
Mhm,
daycare for about 10 years, and I noticed exactly what you said, which
mhm,
is that they'll pick up mannerisms and they'll mimic things so much faster than you sitting here trying to tell them,
mhm,
do this, do that. And so what I would do in my daycare was I would match a kid who was a couple of years older than another kid and have them
mhm.
go over different educational tools with them.
Yeah.
They would look at that peer and they would just pick it up so much more like a sponge
Mhm,
than they do as the teacher or the adult. You know what I mean?
mhm,
Same thing for my son. What I noticed was when we're on their virtual classes, if we're like, okay, Jordan, focus, pay attention, listen to
mhm.
the teacher, he's like, okay. But if you're listening to the teacher, like, what are they
Yes,
talking about? Oh, really? Oh, okay. Days
yes.
of the week. If you're into it, he will immediately go in there and mimic and go right into that. So that's a really good point and a really good concept. I absolutely love it. We're about to take a look at your website and your social
Okay.
media
And
and
right
see
before
where
we
you
do
are.
that,
Go
I wanted to just share before I met you 2 or 3 years ago. I don't think you knew it. You weren't trying to have me be, you be my coach or a mentor or anything like that. But you have no idea the difference that it made seeing someone like yourself have a nonprofit
ahead.
and be happily married and live in the picket house or the friend's house and be natural. I was like, you know what? If she can do it, I can definitely do it. Because I'd never
Wow.
seen it before. So whenever I saw you 2 or 3 years ago, I was like, you know what? What am I waiting for? She's out here living her best life. I want to do that too. So let
I
me go
love
ahead.
that.
So thank
I love
you.
that. That's so good to hear. I appreciate that is my goal. That is my goal right there for someone to see it and say, you know what? Let me go. Let me take that first
Yeah.
step. Because as you know, you take that first step, then the next step comes, and the next step comes, and the next step comes. But that first step is the hardest step to
Oh,
take.
oh
So,
yeah.
and to see you, oh my goodness, it's like I can see just the energy shift in you from when we first started to now. Even
Mm.
now being live on camera like this, like like thinking about back then and when we were
Mm.
talking and things like that, like it is just you could really just see the transformation. I don't know if I could have seen you on live or on camera or at that
I don't
time.
know if I want to be on live. So that's fine.
Absolutely.
That's a
Tell
part
me
of the
what.
process. That's a part of the
Yes, it's a
process.
process, and you have to trust that process sometimes. And sometimes we want things to move super fast, but we just have
Yeah.
to take it. We have to stay in the step we're in, and then when
Mm-hmm.
we graduate from that step, we move to the next step, and we move to the next step. And so, embracing the process is such an important principle. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us just a little snippet. I know you're going to be posting your video, and of course, guys, we're going to be sharing all of Alexandria's links, her website links, social media links, in the description below, so you'll be able to click on it, follow, donate, volunteer. But tell us a little bit, just a little teaser and a couple of points on the last video you did that I got to get a sneak peek of. See,
Of
those are
course
some
you
of
did.
the those are some of the privileges and perks of being a coach, as you get some of the sneak peeks. But tell us a little bit about that subject, because I loved it. It was something I had never heard of. What's the topic of that video that's coming up here soon?
So the
And of course,
title was Good Hair. And of course, growing up in America, at least, from being an African in America, I realized that term is very normal for us to hear. The term good hair, maybe I've heard also in Latin America, they know what good hair is too for the same reason. But growing up and realizing how much time and energy and just like my personal identity was wrapped around my hair.
mm-hmm.
So when I realized it took a lot of me to even cut my hair, I had a breakdown. It was just, I was 15. And to have that be about something as simple as hair, I realized that if I had a certain understanding at that age, I could have, being a teenager is hard enough. You're going to be going through changes. You start to understand the world differently. If you can focus on not having as many vain things, you can
Mm-hmm.
focus more on going in and you can focus on you and your goal and your own ideology. So basically, good hair is just giving a little bit of history lesson on African American hair, or African hair, or however you decide to coin it, coily, kinky hair, however. Just showing how it's different, how it's the same, different laws and things like that. There's a law called Tignon, Louisiana, that made it illegal for women of color to wear enough color, being Black women of descent, who you couldn't wear hair because it was deemed an what was it, a public distraction, which means it's under the same thing as basically like nudity. Like that's how obscene it was because it caused that much. Just our hair people catch attention. People
Yes.
when someone sees a Black woman with a big head of hair, it's always a automatically, let's talk about it. Oh, look how big her
Mm-hmm.
hair is. And because it was seen as some type of just basically it would be so beautiful, it was exotic, that type of thing. And it
Mm-hmm.
caused what did I have
It
goodness.
stopped traffic.
There we go. It stopped
Yes.
traffic, literally. Look. So they had to go to actual, if women thought about that, if they thought about the fact that they had to actually go and convene
Mm-hmm.
the Senate of, you know what I mean, to actually say whether Black women could wear their hair or not because it was so beautiful. It
Wow.
started actually, started changing the way that people would marry. So where men who had a certain amount of status or money would go towards these women, and so it was changing the economic and political stability in one way
Hmm.
versus the other. And so how and that's how important it was, and that's how big the change was. And I feel as though because we think, oh, cover your hair up, that's automatically a bad thing, we don't understand the reason why. We don't understand the reason why and the lengths that people went to have us cover
Hmm.
our hair and not take pride in our hair. There's so
Wow.
much beauty in us as women in general. Women are beautiful in general. Black women, we have our own type of beauty. And the more and more we get comfortable in that, the more and more individual power we have. And
Absolutely.
so that's was important for me to share. And I wanted you to see it because your hair is beautiful and it's always
Thank
natural.
you.
I was like, I got to see what you think about this.
Absolutely, and I love it. Let me tell you my story with my hair. Same thing. It's been such a powerful transformation. I went through a period where I did the big chop kind of twice. One time I did the big chop, and I did the and I realized that even as a natural, that I was trying to mimic. Sometimes I was
Yeah.
trying to mimic like tighter coils that I would see, like, and I'm like, okay, I'm trying to look at the YouTube, and I'm like, my hair not doing that. Well, that's not your hair, or the
Mm-hmm.
other way around, trying to mimic these waves that other hair types were doing or whatnot, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed doing absolutely everything except for just
What it is.
embracing, loving on, diving into and discovering my own hair, my
Mm-hmm.
own unique hair. Even just the fact that women of color all still have a unique curl pattern,
Yeah.
that
I
we
have
have to
like 4A
fight.
up here and like 4C back here. It just, you
Yes,
got to do what's good for
absolutely.
you. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we have to come up with all these systems to try to figure out the curl pattern and all those different things. But like you said, most importantly,
Mm-hmm.
realizing how much energy and time was tied to the acceptance or non-acceptance of my
Yeah.
hair. You know what I mean? As you know, as a sister, your hair could change your whole day. Like, oh
Yeah.
my goodness, I'm not going. I'm
Especially
not
back
going.
then. Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
just gonna stay in. And so to see, I personally have been inspired by the youth who are coming up in that era of acceptance of their hair and beauty in their hair and having all the YouTube videos to style and all of those
Mm-hmm.
things as well. My older son, he recently graduated, but I would go into his school and I would see some of the women of color and some of
Yeah.
the mixed young girls and stuff like that
Mm-hmm.
just wearing their hair so free and out. And I'm like, okay, this, and
Right.
just accepting it. And what
Yeah.
I realize is the our counterparts, non-minorities, have done that forever. They throw a
Mm-hmm.
bun in, they throw whatever and get it done.
Right.
They're going to work, they're working on their inside. Not to say that it's not fun to dress up and to do some things but some days for me,
Mm-hmm.
to show up as my 100% self, I throw on a scarf and make
Mm-hmm.
that cute, because you know what? I don't have time to deal with no hour of doing some stuff. And so this is going to be cute. And I'm going to be able to do that and show up at myself as that. If I can do more, that's great too. But to
And you're
not
good
make,
enough.
what'd you say?
You're good enough. Like, and it's also realizing you're good enough
Yes,
in whatever
exactly.
way it is. Like, it's
Absolutely. Letting your hair speak to you as well.
cool.
You know what I mean? It might want to, maybe it doesn't want to be messed with today.
I
Maybe
have
it's,
mental drops too.
yeah.
It
Like,
happens.
I absolutely love that concept. Can't wait till that video comes out. I'm going to dive in and start looking at your site and stuff, so we won't be on and take up too much of time, guys. Let's go ahead and pop in. Let me open up my screen share here. Let's see. Here we go. All right, there we go. Now you guys should be able to see my screen here momentarily. There it is. All right. So this is the website. Can you see my website, Alexandria? Just making sure.
I can.
First of all, I'll say I know. So, guys, I've seen this website, but I haven't seen it in a while. Just as some disclosure there. But I've always loved this picture. I love the vibe. I love the village vibe, and just getting that initially. You know what I mean? With the name, with the picture and the image and things like that. Any background on how you were able to select your image and your color palette and things like that? Some people have a hard time with that. Are you one of them, or is it easy for you?
Um, I'm focused on what you're saying under it's adolescent all down to being a lot younger. Like so, I want it to be very soothing colors. If it's about people being comfortable, and if it's about health and type of thing, I want it to be very just like soothing, nothing too inviting. That was more so
Mm-hmm.
what I wanted from that. So I'm
Soothing.
glad you're able to hear that.
Got it. Well, it's definitely soothing. It definitely feels soothing. I love the colors. I do love that you have right here the statistics as to what's going on, and this is kind of sort of your why,
Mhm.
which brings me to another question I was going to ask you. For those who are just starting their nonprofit, how did it come to you, or when did you know you wanted to start a nonprofit?
I haven't wanted to start a nonprofit like this since I was about 12 or 13. Of course, as time goes on and life experiences changes, you realize more of what you're geared for and what you're best suited for.
Mm-hmm.
So I always wanted a type of village initiative, but of course, the depending on what's needed, I have changed a little bit of the goal out there. But
Mm-hmm.
my idea for it was realizing I've seen all types of people growing up. I've also understood that a large part of being a part of the Black community or the African community in America is having to understand and see, at least in both media, bombarded with a bunch of negativity. So of course,
Mm-hmm.
that's what you see, you're going to be wondering, what is this? How do I fix this? How would I go about? And now that I'm older, I'm thinking about how can I make it to where it doesn't even happen. It's a lot easier to another quote. Let's think another quote from someone that like it's easier to raise strong men than fix broken ones, and that's
Mm-hmm.
women again. So that's just how the saying goes. But so I've seen at one point, I'm from South Louisiana, so after Katrina and that type of thing, I'm from Baton Rouge, but I've also was impacted by the New Orleans side of Katrina because it did hit Baton Rouge, and I do have family in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like we all didn't have to go up to Baton Rouge anyway. But seeing how decimated the city was, how many vacant homes there were, how integral, especially how integral was in that type of culture where everybody knows everyone, and seeing how that really changed in terms of crime, poverty, um, just even attitude towards everyone else. And of course, it's not the only thing going on, but um, just realizing having that community, seeing the stark difference before and after of that
Absolutely.
huge change, and realizing what made it so different was the people, were the people who were actually invested in being a good community, just being a brick, a part of the house. You don't have to do everything. I feel as
Mm-hmm.
though sometimes, especially with the way this is like capitalism is like that, you can do everything at once and everything will be fine. And that's just not true. We're realizing that now, but if we can find a way to not do that. So that's my background, why I did it. And also, as time went on, I had troubles with that type of thing as well. I started feeling as though I could do everything by myself. I could um, figure it out. Like, I didn't realize that some people just haven't humbled myself and realized, you know what? I don't know what I'm doing all the time. And how is that? So it's fine tuned and realizing how it can actually help. It's not just about giving resources all the time, although that's really helpful if the person understands what they need it for. It's more so helping that person understand what they need so that they can give
Hmm.
what they actually are prepared and able to give in the best way. So I want to use like, all the foreclosed homes, especially in Black neighborhoods and after like after Katrina and all the hurricanes that happened in South Louisiana. If you're from South Louisiana, there's always homes being emptied and being flooded. And if one of those homes could be rebuilt in a way that's actually functional, and by functional I mean you can see that everything is kept, everything, the people who are in the home are there to support you.
Hmm.
It's not anyone's fault or not, fault or not. It's just life is life. And if you can bring something positive to the area to where they can see you don't have to live like that, you don't always have to be stressed. You don't always have to be just the negative aspect. I'm not going to talk too much about it because we're going to raise the positive stuff. But if you can see that as an example, it's like you're saying with kids, they'll mimic it because they can see it's an actual option. This is something that can actually make a lifestyle. So if I could take one of those foreclosed homes, turn it to a center, house where some of the kids who don't have proper living arrangements, depending, they could stay, or they after school they have somewhere where they can have peace. If they don't have peace at home, so they can do their homework. Even talk to
Hmm.
someone who's been through similar um, trials, get the resources that they need. That would be the beginning step and a huge change, I believe. Eventually, if we're able to put a little village in every neighborhood, eventually then we'll just have one village. That's the goal. But
I love that. I love it. And you don't realize, sometimes people don't realize how many people do not have that family, village, sisterhood, brotherhood, um, unconditional, not, not I'm looking at this relationship and in a way of, what can I get or how can I win?
mhm,
Or I'm always about creating win-win relationships. And that is the dynamic and the foundation for relationships that are village based, because you're creating win-win relationships in your home, with your house, your children, your husband, the people that you're doing business with, trying to win together and bring everyone up together, not trying to climb on top of each other. And so I think that's so important. And so many people who don't have that, or they have a distorted or
mhm,
a unhealthy or toxic version of it, what some people think is family is not necessarily family in the sense of the word, in the energetic sense of the word. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yes, I do. I
Gayla
understand.
said, love that. She loves your mission. Thank you, Gayla. That's my sister there. Speaking of family and sisterhood, that's another
Mhm.
thing that we don't get enough of is really just having those powerful women and sister relationships, where we're really just there for each other, where we're really just pouring into each other. So we could definitely get more of that. I love, like I said, the site. I love the logo, the village being on top here. As you give some of that background, it really expounds, like you said, the notion of it, of just creating those small villages where there aren't villages, and then being able to link them all together. So you have the small concept, but you also have the large concept of the entire organization as a whole. I
Mhm.
like to describe this a little bit back in the day. I'm not gonna age myself, but back in the day, well, definitely way pre-COVID, but back in my church going days, I
Mhm.
actually had a church that I attended that there would be they had small groups. So
Mhm.
they had the church that everybody would go to, and it was a larger church. I was growing up there, but then they also had small groups. And I think that that's kind of the concept that they were trying to do with the small groups, was still be able to create those close relationships,
Mhm.
even outside, even once you're growing and you're getting bigger. So
Mhm.
I love that. All right, and so let's look at the rest of this. So you have your vision pictures here. I know that you happen to be very much into health and agriculture and planting and what is it called? Appa,
Permaculture.
say it again.
Permaculture.
That one,
Yeah.
and what's the one that starts with an A? Apocryphy F. It's another one where they're where
Hydroponics. I'm trying to think. Was it with an A?
oh, Gayla, you can tell us if you're watching. Gayla's actually studying it right now, but it goes with that herbalist type
Mhm.
thing as well, which is another important piece.
Yeah.
I was just talking to a client earlier today, and they were saying that their first step is the health is health, because with healthy food in your body and with the right food in your body, now your mind can start to turn on and actually
Mhm.
work properly. Because
Mhm.
so many of us are walking around in a toxic state because
Mhm.
we're taking in all of these toxic things physically with what we're
Mhm.
eating, and visually with what we're watching in our feed and all of those different things as well. And
Mhm.
so it looks like you also have that holistic approach. It looks like you have a blog tied to here. Have you been blogging on here lately, or is this
I have
something update?
those. There's one, but most of them actually I'm still working on.
Okay, so
So
it's
the
still a
blog
work in
is the other
progress.
side of having to do.
Okay, got it. So that's no problem. And let's go ahead and peep over, since for the sake of time, this initial portion of it looks great. I would say, other than updating that blog there, I love the simplicity. And honestly, this is about the average time that a funder would look on your website as well. They're going to go over to the social media where they see, because the difference between a website and social media for the most part is a website is frozen. So you can make this a great dynamic website 10 years ago. But the question is that nonprofit as a funder? My question
Yeah.
would be, is that nonprofit still as active, still as involved? And the first thing that they're going to go over to see that is going to be your social media now. Let's click your social media from here. Oh, it was already in there too. Here we are. And so it looks like, let me go out of my messages. It looks like you are posting here, which is great.
I've
Wonder
been inactive.
Wednesdays.
I should be
Hmm?
more active. I should be more active,
You're okay.
and that's something I'm getting a slap on the hand for. So that's good. I need that.
That's going to be that could be your goal. That could be one of the that I would say showing up on social media on a regular basis, whatever that is for you,
Mhm.
whatever, if that's once a week. Like for us, we really 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 love to post more on our stories. We would love to post generally on social media once a day or once every other day, but no matter what, we come on live at least once per week. That's our
Mhm.
schedule right now. Everything else in between, we get in there when we can, but just setting some type of goal, whether that's weekly, whether it's monthly, because the ultimate goal is whenever the time comes where a funder is looking at your website or your social media, I meant to say, that they're able to scroll down and see activity and see content and see a board, or I don't know how active your board is, but see a nonprofit that is engaged in their own content and
Mhm.
engaged in their mission and things like that. So I would say, can maybe getting on a posting schedule. tip I would give for that, I love Trello. One thing I do with Trello is I use it for posting. And so what I'll do is I'll try to do some pre-planning, like maybe take one day a week. A lot of people use this for time management. They use what's called blocking time. And so they'll like do a whole post prep, block a lot of different posts and get a lot of posts ready for the week coming ahead once on the weekend, once or twice a week or something like that. So that's something you might want to think about. Now, I know you're working on some content anyway. So I'm sure from that content, for instance, now let me tell you this, that, and I'll go ahead and flip and get off of the social media and go back to our screen here. Let's see, stop sharing. There we go. One thing that I'll tell you, a good tip is those lives that you're doing. I just started doing this, but I've been doing lives for probably over 3 years now. One thing that makes for easy content from lives is just to simply take your live, take out some good nuggets that would be beneficial with the live or with the course, not the whole video, but take out 30-second, 60-second nuggets. That's content for you to be able to share. You know what I mean? And so one thing that where did I get this tip from? Oh, shout out to and actually he's from Louisiana. Oh my gosh, you guys have to connect. Shout out to Coach Austin. He's the one that gave me this tip of breaking up those lives like that, because technically you can sit and do one video or one live on a weekend or just an actual extent of video. Even this video right now, we're at about 30 minutes. We probably have about 30 different posts that we could do. That's a month of content. And it took you 30 minutes to create it. You know what I mean? And so that is one thing I would say to start working on, is maybe building up that content there. That's going to help when it comes to that funding arena and bringing in that funding, maybe doing that, utilizing a Trello board or something of that nature to do that. Like I said, I absolutely love the website. Have we did a letter of inquiry for you yet, or have you started working on that piece? That's like an introductory letter of your nonprofit to businesses and to okay, so that's going to be the next step as well. So those are the 2 tips I'll give as we wrap up here. I'm going to send you over a letter of inquiry template. So I'll make sure I jot that down. We'll send that over. Oh, thank you, Gayla. She told us the word.
Apothecary. Oh, yes.
Apothecary. Yes. Yes. Apothecary. I could never say that. So yes. So, and I think it's just all about the herbs as well. It's kind of really similar to a herbalist. Guys. So what I was saying was 2 tips. Number 1 tip is that you're going to maybe start come up with like a social media plan and posting a couple of more things, sharing information. But also, one thing I did notice about your social media that could definitely boost it up times 100 is I don't see your face on there.
Someone told me about that. And I was like, oh, yeah, no, I put it on there like 2 days ago because someone else told me, "Where's your face?"
They said the same.
They said the same thing. So you're right.
People want to see who's behind these nonprofits. That's the difference between how we were and how we are now. A lot of times we would support nonprofits blindly, and then it switched to seeing some nonprofits who weren't doing what they were supposed to do. Then it switched to, I want to know who the nonprofits are that I'm supporting. They want to see the people behind it, because unfortunately, it kind of takes either just having the skill or either just having the finance to create a social media page or a website that looks powerful, but maybe the people behind it may not be linked or energetically connected to the mission. So sometimes people just read those faces. They want to see people. They want to see how your nonprofit is unique and different. And the most unique and different thing about your nonprofit is the people that's behind it. So I would definitely do that. A couple of other little social media tips that's really working for one of my nonprofits right now, who just got a $25,000 grant. Shout out to Michelle Pila from Wholesome Riches. They're doing live interviews with their board members. Some people find it easier to do lives, just like me, when I'm talking to someone else. So it makes it a little bit easier when I'm communing with someone else and having someone on there. So doing interviews with your board members, interviews with just the people that you're trying to assist right now, you know what I mean? Maybe even having some type of like hair, like since you're the specific topic for the next video you're working on is accepting your hair, maybe doing like a counsel type session with someone who's having struggling with that right now. You know what I mean? And posting those as well, interviewing your volunteers. Those are the main tips that I would give. And then of course, like I said, we're going to get you over that letter of increase template so that you can start working on that. But I think that you're doing absolutely wonderful. I can see that you've been developing and growing, and it's really just about that steady growth, guys. It's not about the speed. It's about, I just read this. I'm a horoscope reader, guys. And I just read this about horoscope. It was one day where everything was just so crazy and just a lot coming in. I have a lot of messages and incoming. And I was just kind of getting frantic. And I had read this and it said, it's not about the speed. It's about taking one step at a time and making sure that not only are you productive, but you're also doing it in a peaceful way as well. And so there's an affirmation that I used to use that said, my schedule is a suggestion, but my peace is a priority. My schedule is a suggestion, but my peace is a priority. And what that means is I'm following my schedule, but if at any point in time I start to feel like, you know what, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling like I need a break, or I'm feeling like it's too much, it's time to put that piece as a priority and move some things around. If you got to move some things around, we're human. So move around, make sure that you're having that peace and you're checking in with yourself. That's you taking care of yourself and making sure you have self-care, which is entail what we want to mentor in mentorship. You know what I mean? Because once you put your mask on, you're able to be a better coach, you're able to be a better consultant, you're able to be a better mom, a better wife, better fiance, all of those things. And so, so making sure that you do that self-care, that's something that was a huge aha for me when it came to my children, because I grew up and I wouldn't say, I guess the people around me, what I picked up from it, because sometimes we pick up things that is not necessarily what the person meant to give. Sometimes we don't translate it right. People around me, what I picked up was, as women, we are last. As women, we take care of the household first. We make sure we get that done. But as long as everybody else is taken care of, I'm good. It's okay. I don't have to be taken care. And that is something to be proud of. That was a huge aha when I realized that is not only a lie, it's the breeding grounds for bitterness. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not taking, and why would you want to teach the people around you that, that you're last and that you don't have that same deservance of being taken care of as well? Again, we want to create win-wins. It's not about, just you winning, and it's not just about me winning. It's about us winning together. And so we not only need to make sure that we're taking care of the ones around us, but that we're also turning around and taking care of ourselves too. And that could be hard for some women,
Right. And the people who honestly really do care about you want you to win too. And I feel like sometimes, for me, when I was younger, I felt like that wasn't the case. I felt like someone has to win. Someone's gonna get, like, Medea, gonna get got, like that type of thing. It's like, it's not like that.
Right.
It's really there are people out there who just want to see you win. And if you find those people, then you're gonna have your peace. And you're gonna give freely, and they're gonna give freely, and it's gonna just be a nice win-win situation, like you said.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's been so good having you come on. We may have you come on again. I absolutely have loved it. Thank you so much for being flexible with us. Talk about that and being, guys. We had to reschedule this because of some tech issues, but I think it's important to sometimes talk about that, because sometimes people think that things just are flowing in some people's lives like just super smooth, but no, we make it flow smooth by adjusting, by being flexible, by staying connected, keeping our peace first and things like that. So thank you so much for coming on. What would you say right now is the highest need for your nonprofit? Would you say it's volunteers? Would you say it's that you're raising funds for a particular project right now? So if someone's watching and they want to get involved, what would you say would be the highest area of need?
From what I can gather from everything and what I know about it, it's a lot of exposure. Number one would be exposure. It would be great to have people know more about this mission, because it's something that's needed no matter what household or where we're talking about. It's something, there's a healing type movement going on in the world.
Yes.
I feel like people having to deal with their own issues because they're stuck in the house. So people can see that and understand something to put into, and that they can, if you're not alone. I would love that type of exposure, because the first thing I want is people to know, like you're saying, for me, just seeing that it's possible. That so other people know that it's possible and that it's not just them thinking that. Number one. Number two, I want to be able to sell that, or give my course, more like, not sell, but to give my course to students, because it's not like I can go to, there isn't like I can go out like I used to. It's COVID,
Mm-hmm.
and just more movement than necessary is not uh, it's not wise. So I'm
Right.
something I want to be able to teach and give people the message without there being a misunderstanding of what it's for, or so that it's endangering people. It's supposed to enrich people's lives. I would love
Mhm.
to be able to gift the classes to different students and have people sponsor a student.
Oh,
Eventually,
that's
I would like to be able to have it to where I'm able to find a certain amount of students, where you can see the child and see whose class you're paying for and that type of thing, so that we're able to get more curriculum, so that we can keep doing that, and so that the funnel will eventually have us to be able to have our first um, hut or village physically whenever COVID is over with. So that's the goal right now. So those are the two things that I would really appreciate.
awesome. So is there a way on your site, if someone wants to sponsor someone for the course, will you be posting that on your social media? I'll just say follow her social media, and you'll be posting once the course is ready, and how you can sponsor someone for the course and things like that as well. And there's also ways to connect with her on there, through Facebook. I think she has a contact us page on her website as well, so you can get in contact with her if you want some more specifics, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for coming and sharing all these pearls of wisdom and talking about your nonprofit. Last thing I'll ask you before we leave is, somebody is watching and they've been wanting to start a nonprofit forever. They are thinking about it. They kind of just, it's something, for some reason they're not getting started and taking that first step. What would you say to them?
There's no such thing as a right time, and it's ready. You're going to be as ready now as you're ever going to be. So I
Yes,
would do it now.
I love it. That's it. That's it. Start where you are with what you have. And
Consider what
Alexandra is
it
a perfect, she's a perfect example of that,
is.
because we started some things where it was like we even did some bartering, guys, on some
Yeah,
different services and things like
bless
that.
her heart.
We're listen, we're a nonprofit, so we're trying to help people. And then she got to the
Mhm.
point where she was able to obtain a couple of services
Yeah.
as well, but she didn't let that not being there stop her from doing what she could. She did what she could. She was like, you know what, I have to. She was okay with asking, like, is there a way that we can, you know what I mean? If you don't never know until you ask someone, the worst thing that they could say is, oh no, I can't do that right now, maybe
You
later.
already have a no. You have a
Yes,
no for sure when you don't ask. So, so you have it
exactly.
now. And now I'm at the point
Exactly.
where I can actually just go and get your services. Get to that point. Just get to the point where you're okay with hearing as many no's. You only need one yes. You
That's
already
it.
have a no. So you only
That's
need
it.
one yes. Do what you need to do to get that yes. That's all I'm
Absolutely.
going to That's all I'm going to say.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on, guys. We will see you next Saturday. Uh-oh, I don't know what happened there. But perfect timing, because we were wrapping up. It looks like it closed out. But we will see you guys next Saturday at 11 a.m. live. We're going to have Dominique on this coming Saturday at 11 o'clock. And she's going to be sharing a little bit about her nonprofit as well, guys. And so I will see you this Saturday at 11 a.m. If you want to get our newsletters and make sure you know when we're doing the hot seats, when we're doing the site reviews, when we're off for the holiday, such as times coming up right now, guys, make sure that you go to clarkspark.org, join our newsletter, and we'll make our join our mailing list, and we'll make sure that you get that newsletter on a weekly basis as well. I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, guys, remember to create win-wins, and remember that as you're continuing to add value, the funding will follow. As you continue to add value, the funding will follow. As you continue to add value, the funding will follow, whether that's value on video, whether that's value on live, whether that's value to your husband, to your wives, to your children. As you continue to add value to your village, as we're talking to a village initiative here, guys, the funding and everything else will follow. So just focus on that value that you're adding and how you're growing your community, how you're changing your little world, one person, one conversation, one post at a time. And I will see you guys next Saturday live.